everyone. Welcome to Dreadnought Mondays. Great to have you here. Today I am joined by Anna Cantwell. I'm super excited for this, Anna. We've been talking about this for a couple weeks. Glad we're able to finally connect and get on together. And if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself a little bit, give a little background, and tell people who you are.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Kenny, for having me on. It's really exciting to chat. I actually just moved a couple of days, so it's been really fun getting settled and just ready to roll. I am Anna Cantwell. I am a soul coach and a mindful living expert. So really what I help people do is I help people feel their absolute best in their bodies. I help people free their minds, and I help people feed their beautiful souls, allowing them to feel fulfilled, vibrant, and joyful on a daily basis. That's really my life's work. It's kind of what I've always done, but I haven't always been called a soul coach. And I've always been, even since I was really young, teaching, leading, guiding people in self-discovery and self-inquiry, and just discovering how to live a better life. Inspiring and encouraging people has really always been my passion since I was a little girl. And so for a long time, that looked like being in education and being a teacher. And now it gets to take this new fun form. For the last about 4 or so years, I've been able to do this. So it's just an honor to be here and to get to share a little bit of my healing journey to this place and to really encourage people to live a positive and beautiful life.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. And again, I'm glad to have you on the show. I think that's like a perfect segue. You know, you mentioned you help people free their minds, and we were talking a little off camera, that part of Dreadnought Mondays is like the first step is, recognizing and, admitting that you have a Monday, whatever that Monday is for you.
Yeah.
You also mentioned you just moved. I know that could be a Monday for some people.
Ooh, yeah.
So in coming to face that reality, if you will, admitting that you have that Monday and, is the first step. What do you do to help people, first off, recognize that, then finally come around to admitting that? And I think the hardest thing is not necessarily being ashamed of it. Realizing that everyone has a Monday, whatever that Monday is, or 5 Mondays.
Yeah, 17 Mondays. You could go on. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So how do you help people with the next step, and not be ashamed of it, be able to cope with it and improve their lives with it or overcoming it, whatever that Monday may be?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a very common phrase in kind of the personal development and wellness world that's you gotta feel it to heal it. So
I like that.
Always first step to getting over anything, the bump in the road, right? Whatever it might be, the wall that we build, the limits that we build for ourselves, is just acknowledging it and saying, taking responsibility for it, right? Because as long as we're playing the blame game, we don't have any power to shift it or change it, right? So really that's part of accepting it, is taking responsibility and saying, okay, maybe this wasn't my fault. Maybe I had zero control over this thing happening, or, it was just an accident, right? Or this is what my family's always done, or list goes on and on. It's still my responsibility to move forward and move through it if I desire my life to be better, which most of us do. I really believe that innately in us is the yearning to grow and flourish and thrive. So that's kind of the first step. And once you've accepted it, now it's not returning back to it again and again. So what so much of us do, and I have to admit, I was like the worst at this, especially when I was a school teacher. Getting into venting, which soon gets into a lot of complaining, which gets into really dwelling on the issue. And what that leaves us is stuck in the past with it, right? Instead of being present in our lives for what's happening right now, right? It's not always Monday, right? The Monday isn't always happening. And there's this really interesting fact about complaining that I love to share with folks. And that's when you complain, the part of your brain that is responsible for solving problems, it's called the hippocampus, it actually deteriorates. So when you complain about a problem, it actually breaks down your physiological and neurological ability to solve that very same problem. It's wild. So it's not just, it's not just bad vibes to be complaining and dwelling on the past. It actually has an effect on your brain chemistry. So to me, once you've brought it up, once you've become aware of it, right, and realized, ooh, when do I get that like pit in my stomach? I remember driving, pitch black, 5:30 in the morning to school to try to finish my lesson plans before working this job that was rewarding, and it was way too much for me. It was so degrading to my mental health and my physical health that I would just get this awful pit in my stomach as I would pull up to the school. And I think that's a really great way for people to tune into their body and see, how do I feel when this happens? And that can help them actually identify or become aware of their so-called Monday, right? Once you feel that, you're really aware of it, you can start to work through it by accepting it and moving forward. This is my reality. I either continue as we're choosing, or I make a new choice. I set up a new pathway. And that's a lot of what I do with the clients that I work with. It's thinking, okay, how can we come up with, if this is reality, which we don't try to argue with because you'll lose every time, this is reality, how do I shift that? And recognizing that all reality shifts start right here in the mind.
Awesome, I like that. There were a couple things that jumped out to me as you were talking. One, your phrase, feel it to heal it. And I certainly don't want to downplay Mondays because, they're very serious and have a major impact in our lives. So I certainly don't want to downplay them. But if that's all you're focused on, it could seem like Mount Everest, when in reality, with a little reapproach, it's really just a speed bump.
Yeah.
In reality, again, certainly not to downplay it or, throw it under the bus in that manner, but a lot of times it can be our human nature is to blow things out of proportion.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And not to recognize that likely we created that. And I love to share this story when talking about these, using examples like it's a block, right? It's a bump in the road, that kind of thing. I was on a hike with a friend of mine and coming down this really, really steep part, one of those where you kind of have to crouch and you're kind of crawling, but it's fine, right? You make your way down. So I make my way down. He's standing at the top looking down at me with these wide eyes. And he just says, Anna, I can't do it. And I, Daniel, what? What do you mean you can't do it? And he goes, there's a wall here. And he drew this invisible line in the air with his hand. So I looked at him and said, you just made that wall. You just created a wall by saying there's a wall here. So I looked him in the eye and just said, there is no wall. He repeats back to me, there is no wall. So we go back and forth, there is no wall. And he starts to make his way down the mountain easy, right? And it just, how often do we put up a completely false, totally imaginary wall or obstacle in our way?
I like that. That really illustrates what we naturally do.
Yeah.
And then the second thing that came to mind when you were talking a minute ago is, that's all you focus on. If there's a pebble in your shoe, everything else in the world disappears. That pebble in your shoe is there.
So true.
And again, certainly not to downplay, but if there's a pebble in the shoe, you could be in the most beautiful forest with a big flock of peacocks or whatever, a diamond palace, but you won't see any of that because you're focused on this pebble in your shoe.
Yeah.
So, with the slight adjustments, in your mindset and stuff, and I know this isn't easy because it took me years to kind of get over this Monday mental roadblock.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, there's a pebble in the shoe. I can get that out of the way or whatever. But yeah, there's a pebble in the shoe, but I've still got all this good stuff going on for me. Or there's that wall or that roadblock, or this thing in my way that I have to deal with. But I still got all this other great stuff going on for me. Or whatever.
Absolutely. And I think that's where gratitude comes in. That there's so much research that shows that people that have gratitude as a practice, right? And this is something that, gratitude is really woven into all of my programs, some kind of practice of gratitude. People who are grateful and do this on a daily basis, they are far and away healthier, happier, a lot of times wealthier, right? They have more life in them simply because more of their attention is on what they appreciate than what's, quote, wrong, right? What's not working in their lives.
Exactly. I use that or I see that a lot with my clients in the financial services. I can recommend something or whatever, and I get people that say, oh, that's another $100 going to something else, or they can let out know that's $100 I'm putting in to protect my family or for my family's future or to provide me this in 5 years.
I love that.
So again, going back to the Monday, you can look at it, I have this obstacle, or I have to go to work and it's only Monday, and when's it ever going to be 5 o'clock or whatever, Or you can shift it and say, okay, I'm pushing through this because it's allowing me this over here. If you're an avid mountain climber, this is allowing me to get the climbing equipment I want, or this is paying for that vacation I'm going on in 2 weeks, or whatever.
Yeah.
So just that slight change and shift, and the complaining and stuff, it can go just as easy in an upward spiral.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And that's, it's so common that a lot of people, that find me are grappling with anxiety. And I always tell them, if you can spin yourself out, if you can get yourself into a hole to zero hole, just like worry storm or panic, then you can exactly what you just said, upward spiral, right? You can raise your vibration. You can feel better right now in this moment by choosing to. And I love what you said. It's not a big shift, right? Maybe sometimes the pebble in your shoe, it feels like a boulder, But with perspective, when we zoom out a little bit, can we see that, in fact, it very well might be a pebble, and it's going to take a second to stop and take it out and shift. And sometimes that teeny shift is just switching language. I have to do this versus I get to have a job. I get to be employed. I imagine that a lot of people are feeling incredibly grateful for remaining employed throughout this year, for example, right? It's definitely a highlighting of priorities and appreciation.
Oh, absolutely. It's just that few different word vocabulary choices.
Totally. And I was an English teacher, so that was always I've always been fascinated with words and how they create and how we can start to take responsibility for the language that we use, how we speak about ourselves, how we speak about our lives, how we speak about the people in our lives.
Absolutely. And you go into that, you'll often find once you make those shifts, you're glad you did, instead of I have this problem, it could be look what I learned because of that, or look how much stronger I am because of that. So
absolutely.
And then when people, when they recognize it, when they are able to fill that Monday, how do you help them, or what's a good step to help them along in that right path versus being an ostrich and putting their head in the sand?
Absolutely. So a lot of times I describe myself as a mirror, right? You could say I'm not really doing anything. I'm not healing anyone. I am simply reflecting back the greatness that you are, right? The just miraculous living, breathing conglomeration of trillions of cells that are all in well enough working order for you to be sitting here in front of me, right? So what are you doing with your head in the sand, right? It's like, get out there, you have something to give, you have something to share. And sometimes for people, it's teaching them the tools to train their intuition so they can start to learn the difference between the anxious voice, the self-doubt, even the self-loathing, and the intuitive, the inner voice, or what I sometimes call the truth channel, right? That's within us. So helping people kind of tune that inner ear and become more present to the reality of their lives, which is often, because I tell people, if you found a coach, if you're at a point where you're getting coaching in your life, there's a lot that's going right for you. I think a lot more that's going right than probably what's not working. So acknowledging that, acknowledging how far you are. And then the model that I teach, the philosophy that I teach and walk people through is sustainable growth, right? So quantum leaps are fun. It's awesome to have huge epiphanies and massive transformations, and you will experience that. However, to me, the slightly less sexy and much more long-term kind of big picture, like you were saying in the finance world, is little steps every single day. If you have never meditated in your life before, 5 minutes every single day, that is astronomical. I remember one woman that I worked with said, well, I've been noticing some shifts here and there, but I guess it's small, but I really noticed a difference in my breath. And I said, small? That's the one thing that you do all day, every single day. That's no small shift whatsoever. And recognizing, once again, much like money, compound interest. How the goodness in your life expands when you make little deposits every day into things that feed your soul, into doing what you love, into doing something kind or generous. for someone else, or appreciating, the goodness that comes your way.
Absolutely. And, from my own personal experience, a couple of points that you also touched on is acknowledging it. When I first recognized it and stuff, I'm like, no one else does this, I'm blah, blah, blah. And you're like, then I realized, like, no, every single other person out there in the world has a Monday.
It's so true.
And you mentioned mentors, like, oh, he's so good, that person doesn't need a mentor. I can never be like him. Until I realized they have a mentor. And their mentor has a mentor. And their mentor has a mentor. So it's okay. You're not alone. There's a great support system out there.
Totally.
And as far as those big leaps and bounds, like you said, something else I've learned from a mentor is just keep track of like the small wins. You may not see it on a daily basis, but if you write it down, you'll look back and like, holy cow, whoa. And then that right there boosts the confidence and gives you that extra energy and leap and motivation to go, all right, let's go do it. Let's go get some more.
Yes, it's so true. There's a whole theory. It's the small wins theory, that you have to keep track of your journey and the little victories in order to sustain the motivation. And I know what a lot of people grapple with is finding not the external motivation, because that's very, very fickle, and it can be helpful, but really largely the internal and the intrinsic motivation, the space that comes from within you that says, this is just, this music that I'm creating, or this project, or this business is just coming through me, right? I almost can't hold it back. I can't see myself doing anything but this, right? And acknowledging on the way how you grow, because there's always growth to be had.
Oh, absolutely. Like you mentioned earlier, if you're the problem, you're the solution, and you may not be able to control everything that happens to you, around you, but you can control how you react to it.
Absolutely.
And with mentors and stuff, I can mentor you till you're blue in the face, but if you decide not to do anything with it, it doesn't do any good. So like you were just saying, it comes through you. It's that internal thing. A mentor just kind of helps turn on some light switches and tell something clicks or whatever, or just a little hints. But you're the one that's controlling that's making those moves and stuff. So you've got the resources in you, even though you may not recognize it at all, or at the time, or think about it like that. You've got that within you, and I think that is awesome. The power of your brain to be able to do that. Mentor just helps unlock that and helps guide you through that.
Yeah, absolutely. I will always say this: if someone is looking for a coach, they will also be being coached, right? Anyone that you're ever looking to help you grow, they will have a mentor. They will have someone else who is supporting them in that way. And I think getting over this, kind of mental roadblock of, I have to do it on my own. I want to be, self-made, which is not even a thing, right? I want to be the one at the forefront of this. Everyone requires support. Everyone needs support to truly grow. And there's an old proverb that I love, and it's, if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together, right?
Absolutely.
It's truly, to me, that's the way, right? Finding that support, collaborating, co-creating, and seeing that you're the only one, however, as you said, that can make the decision that says, I'm going to go for this, or I'm going to receive the support and allow someone to nurture me and to teach me, or to offer like this toolbox. That's how a lot of times how I describe it. I just have a lot of tools, right? And have been there too, have been the person who has been struggling with motivation or couldn't get out of bed in a day, at different points in my life. So just sometimes to hear that is enough for us to say, okay, whoa, if this person can do it, then I can definitely do it. It's within me too. There's nothing special. I'm like, there's nothing special about me other than that I decided and I made a choice. And now I have the experience, right? And the wherewithal and the tools and the passion to share it, and to share it widely and freely.
Awesome. And yeah, thank you for that. Because it's so easy to fall into that woe is me trap. It's like so much easier than climbing up that hill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gravity works metaphorically too.
Totally.
And so, like you said, a mentor is someone standing up higher on the hill, reaching out their hand. But if you don't reach out there, you've got to be the one to decide to reach out there and take it. Mm. And again, realizing that they've got someone above them with their hand outstretched to them. And a lot of times you'll find people, like you said, that have been through what you're going through. Mm-hmm. Maybe not 100% exact same scenario or whatever, but they've gone through it, and they can help you through that. And then this person can help you with this piece, and this person can help you with this piece, and that support network.
Yes.
Helps you pull your head out of the sand and get going on the upward spiral, upward path.
Yeah, and keep going, right? Because that, I think, it's the funny part about things like self-doubt or limiting beliefs, is that as you grow, as you elevate, you run into different levels of those, right? There was a time in my life when I could not imagine waking up and creating my own schedule. And now that's completely normal to me, right? It's the most normal thing. And so recognizing that, from where I am now, there's even a new level where I doubt, could life be this incredible or this magical? However you feel, or this fulfilling, or this, lovely or love-filled, and that everyone, the person that you're watching on social media whose life looks amazing and perfect, they're having doubts. The superstar, the pop star going on stage, they have doubts too. It's just at a slightly different level. And that those things, they never really go away, and that's okay. Life would be so boring, honestly, if we didn't have those, right? I think sometimes we just make them so that life gets a little more exciting.
Love that. Yeah, definitely put some excitement and curveballs in your life, but also it helps us grow.
Yeah.
We grow so much. Again, going back to another analogy, if I did everything for my son, it'd be quicker and faster. Like you said, go alone if you want to go fast. But I take the time to coach him and help him. Now he knows how to do it. If I didn't have him do it, he'd never learn.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to go through, is those experiences, so that we can learn and grow, so that we're ready for the next experience to grow even more, like you were saying.
And that's so valuable, letting someone really figure it out for themselves, and not just saying, well, here's the answer, here's what I think you should do, right? That's never how the conversation goes. The conversation is very much a process of discovery. And it's so much of coaching and mentoring is asking great questions, right? Asking really, really good questions that prompt the discovery. I didn't think about it that way. I've never considered this lens. And what that does, very much so in your brain, is just opens up new pathways, opens up other pathways to creative solutions and ideas.
Absolutely. And it helps you get more to the root, the true root of whatever that Monday is or what you're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, instead of just surface level, if you will. Asking those questions will help you dive deeper. And then a lot of times you'll answer your own question. You know, like if your question is this, you know, what about this? And then your mentor or whatever could ask you, okay, well, what about it? You know, what are you thinking? What do you, and then you start talking and dialogue, monologue, you're like, oh, now that makes sense over here. You're like, bingo. You know, so often we answer our own questions, you know, just by having that extra little boost, that extra little help
Mm-hmm.
from someone else, you know, that's zoomed out, that's given us a different perspective. But
Totally. I see it as like as the reflection. To me it always comes up as a mirror. So someone says, well, do you think I should do this? And or you know, what do you think about this? And just reflecting back to them, if you were sure about this, you wouldn't be asking me right now. Or why are you questioning, right, your gut instinct, which is a lot of what I teach people, because we have, just like all the solutions to all our problems ever within us, we have the infinite possibilities, we have the guidance system for a life that we're absolutely in love with, and that's our intuition. It guides us just like your GPS does. And I think so often we're hesitant to really trust that feeling, and that how easily we can feel when we're out of alignment with, you know, our authentic and genuine selves.
absolutely. You know, and then so often it's like, I knew I should have done this, or hindsight's 2020. But you know, again, that's another lesson we learn. You know, it's something I've learned from one of my mentors. I'm a big Grant Cardone fan.
Yeah.
And one of the things he talks about is, you know, make a decision and run with it. You know, and if you get to a dead end, that's a good place to reevaluate and turn around and go the other way.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes that might be what you need. Is like, okay, I did this, it didn't work out, but I did learn this from it. Now I got even more ammunition to go the right way.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. And it's, to me, there is no such thing as a mistake. There's no such thing as a wrong decision, because even the wrong decisions, they lead you to the piece of knowledge or wisdom that you needed to get to the next step, right? It's like sometimes you don't realize what balance is or what alignment is until you're knocked off your rocker, right? Or out of alignment. And something that I love to teach people is, you know, in my life, I feel like we mentioned this at the start of our conversation, you get kind of like, you know, I say like body slammed by the universe, right? You get like a big wake up call. And sometimes we need that, right? Sometimes we hear the intuition, we hear the voice, but we ignore it, or we like press it down, or we like try to just like la 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 la, like tune it out like it's not there, right? And we can just kind of keep going on. But really, the universe, whatever you like to call it, it will whisper, it will tell you before it screams, right? Before the body slam, it will tell you. And so it's about getting sharper at listening to that and listening to it earlier, so that we don't have to reach the really, really painful point, and that we can actually grow with joy and grow with fun instead of always growing through the struggle. It's not to say that it won't be uncomfortable. Growth by nature is uncomfortable. There's fear involved, there's doubt involved. It wouldn't be growth if that wasn't there. And I like to reflect to people, it doesn't have to be as hard as we make it. It doesn't have to be like first stop on the struggle bus all the time in order to grow.
Absolutely. And one of the whispers I hate hearing from the universe is, I told you so. But that gives me the biggest wake-up call when I need it. And, when I do that, it's like, yep, I needed that. But
Totally.
yeah, it puts that perspective back in place, and back where it's supposed to be and stuff. And like, maybe this isn't such a bad thing, or maybe it's not as big as I thought it was going to be, or maybe this approach wasn't, and what if I try shifting it just a little bit, just going back to those small tweaks.
Totally. I love the idea that, in my last especially several years, I've experienced a lot of loss and a lot of challenge. I've been dumped, I've been fired, I've been you name it. However, what I didn't realize at the time is that now I can look back and be grateful for those opportunities because they totally redirected me on my path. They totally were a huge blessing. Now, it doesn't feel like a blessing when you're getting fired to be fired. It doesn't feel like a blessing when you're getting dumped to be dumped, right? All of these things. And that doesn't mean that there's not a day, and I encourage my clients a lot to feel into this, that could there possibly be a day when I look back on this difficult thing and I'm actually grateful for it?
Oh, all the time. All the time. Like you said, it doesn't feel good when those things happen in the moment.
Yeah.
But you're like, I'm so glad that happened. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been down this path that led me to where I'm at today.
Yes.
So, that is so true. Well, Anna, it's been so good talking to you. It's been such a great conversation. Where can people find you if they wanted to connect with you and learn more about what you do?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I have had a blast. I am most active on Instagram. You can follow me at I am Anna, Anna, Cantwell. Just the words can't and well. My website also has a bunch of goodies and all of my offerings. It's annacantwell.com. Pretty easy. And I also have a Facebook group, a private Facebook community, Aligned and Soulful Living, where I lead live meditations every week, where I drop a bunch of goodness videos, content. You can listen to my meditations on Spotify as well. And basically anywhere where there's music, you will find me. I would love to connect with you, and I would love to see what it is that you're currently working through and how we can move you past whatever roadblocks, whatever Mondays are occurring for you. So reach out. I cannot wait to hear from y'all.
Awesome. Thank you. And we'll get those links and put them in the comments with this video as well. Again, Anna, thank you so much. It's been a great show, and we will see you next time.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.